Well, another injury for the Orlando Magic that's just going to make the job that much harder. We'll talk a little bit about Cole Anthony's injury, what that means for the Orlando Magic. Plus, hope for y'all. I got it. I told you I'm an optimist. It's time for Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is October 28th, 2022. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the expert and site editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, Cole Anthony is out indefinitely with an oblique injury. It's not quite clear what that is, but he is out for a while, and the Magic now have 0 healthy point guards. That's great. Plus, I've got some reasons for hope, and we'll talk about tonight's game coming up against the Charlotte Hornets. Before we do any of that, though, I want to thank you all again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for. The Locked On Podcast Network, it's your team every day. So obviously, we're now 24 hours removed from the huge news that Cole Anthony will be out indefinitely with what is being described as, and I want to make sure I get this right, so hang with me as I load my copy here, with what is being described as an internal oblique injury. If you remember in the fourth quarter of Wednesday's game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, Cole Anthony went to the basket, was hit kind of hard. No foul was called, but was hit kind of hard and fell to the floor and did not get back into the play. It's being described as a right internal oblique muscle injury. I want to make sure I get that part right. Cole Anthony was hit, went down, did not get back in the play, finished the game. It was about, I don't know how much time was left, but he did finish the game. He did not come out of the game after that, and obviously the news came down Thursday that he will be out for some time. As always, the classic line, his return to play will be determined by how he responds to treatment and recovery. So for now, hands off. We don't know when Cole Anthony will be back on the floor for the Orlando Magic. This is a huge loss, to say the least. It has been rough for the Orlando Magic. I would say their biggest problems in general have just been organization. Just knowing where to be, when to be there, just being on the same page. This team is this team has done a lot of really good things. I know we're 0-5. We're going to get to that in a bit here. This team is 0-5, but doing some good things, just not doing them consistently enough. And consistency is just so hard to get to when you just don't know where to be. And the Magic have had to abandon, I think, a lot of things they wanted to do. They've struggled to consistently do the things they need to do. And a big reason for that is just plain and simple organization. Plain and simple being in the right spots. A lot of us Magic fans, a lot of us think that Markelle Fultz fixes a lot of the team's problems just because he is an organizer. He gets everyone in the right spots. He understands when to attack. He understands when to distribute. He understands how to distribute. He just understands how to run an offense. And it's not to say that Cole Anthony doesn't or Jalen Suggs doesn't. They don't do that level. They do it better than the players currently on the roster or currently available to the team at the moment. You look at Franz Wagner. You look at how much he has struggled this year with his shooting efficiency. And so much of it with Franz Wagner is quite simply he doesn't know and is unable to kind of get the team into their sets. You'll watch them and they'll be slow to get into their sets. They'll be slow to get into their offense. The offense just moves slowly. And that's just really, really difficult. That's just really, really tough for this team to to get all those pieces together, to get everything working together. Losing Jalen Suggs was a big hit to the defense, for sure. But it was a big hit because he's someone that at least nominally can bring the ball up the floor and get the team going. Cole Anthony is a big loss because he knows how to play point guard. He knows how to get this team into their sets, into what they're trying to do, into what they're trying to accomplish. And so right now, this Magic team, in the league today, point guard is the most important position on the floor. Nothing else matters. Not having a point guard is such a huge loss. And the Magic are either going to have to start R.J. Hampton, who's been in and out of the rotation in the early season, and why that's the case is anybody's guess, because he had a really good preseason. They're going to have to rely maybe on Kevon Harris to be a point guard, which doesn't sound great. They're going to have to rely even more on Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero to initiate action. Well, I think the Magic wanted to experiment with this and wanted them to get experience in this. Doing it this way is going to be much tougher. It's going to hurt them and their development and how they learn how to do this. They're being thrown straight into the deep end of the pool without fully understanding how to wade, if that analogy makes sense. It is, if you're asking why the Magic are drowning, it's that. They don't have a point guard to kind of help smooth them along here, or help teach them how to swim, or get them in the right spots to swim right now. And it's frustrating because injuries are random. I spent a good chunk of my time yesterday with a lot of people, a lot of fans who, maybe rightly, I don't think so, but maybe rightly, asking, well, the Magic need to look at their medical staff. Well, the medical staff can't do anything about Markelle Fultz breaking a toe outside of the facility, outside of a practice. They can't do anything about Gary Harris tearing his meniscus away from the facility, away from the team. They can't do anything about Cole Anthony going up for a shot, getting hit in the ribs, in the stomach, in the midsection, wherever it is, and going down hard and getting injured. They can't do anything about Jalen Suggs spraining an ankle going up for a layup. The injuries the Magic are facing right now are not things the medical staff can prevent. They are random. Injuries are random. And yes, the Magic have had a lot of bad luck, but that's all it is. What you could blame a medical staff for, perhaps, is bringing guys back too quickly for the same injury reoccurring over and over again. So, I had people say, like, oh, how can you trust Markelle Fultz? He's always hurt. Well, we're not dealing with shoulder issues, which Markelle Fultz has a history of because of the TRS, or TOS, thoracic outlet syndrome. We're not dealing with him dealing with knee injuries or recurrence of problems with his ACL. You could certainly maybe criticize for the Jonathan Isaac recovery, but at the same time, the medical staff is being criticized with Jonathan Isaac for being too cautious. So, look, I'm going to defer to experts on this. I don't know what a proper recovery is. I don't know all the information, all the facts. We're not seeing guys get the same injuries over and over again, or have injuries be re-aggravated. If anything, this medical staff has been criticized for being too cautious. And so it's not their fault that this team is facing all these injuries. By the same token, at the same time, this team cannot use injuries as an excuse. These are big losses. These are huge losses. And the Magic are, honestly, we can't evaluate or fully evaluate this team without seeing this team healthy. And if this team is unable to be healthy, then yes, management, Jeff Weltman, needs to consider changing personnel or ensuring that they have guys who don't have such checkered histories of injury. Then, Jalen Suggs' play style might just open him up to injury. Cole Anthony has dealt with some major injuries throughout the course of his career. And yes, they are different injuries, so I don't put that on the medical staff, but his size and his play style just might open him up to these kinds of little nagging injuries that leave him out for weeks at a time. Maybe the Magic shouldn't be so reliant on three-point guards who do have these histories of being out with long injuries. Now, having said that, Jalen Suggs could be back very, very soon. Sprained ankles are sprained ankles. They're common. Markelle Fultz could be back any day now, to be perfectly honest. I haven't seen him in 2 weeks. He could have made some tremendous strides. He is listed as out for today's game as of this moment. So it's not going to be tonight against Charlotte. But to that same token, these could be short-term injuries. The Magic don't feel the need to make any major changes, knowing that they're going to be back fully healthy. And honestly, we could be sitting back here in January, February, just laughing at how injured this team was at the beginning of the season and focused on how this team is developed now. This is a bad moment. Let's just leave that out there. This is a bad moment. The optics of being without a point guard, without a healthy point guard on the roster, and an 0-5 record only make that feel worse. This is a bad moment, but this moment is going to pass at some point. At some point, the Magic are going to get healthy again. The Magic are going to be doing the things they need to do, and they'll make the progress they need to make. But until then, it's going to be really tough. It's going to be really, really hard, and it's going to be tough to evaluate this team and what they're able to accomplish in the meantime. Still, the games move on. The Magic are talented enough. They are good enough to be able to win some of these games. They just have to go out there and do it. I am a fountain of optimism, though, and I have a reason, I at least have history of reasons to be optimistic about this Magic team and what they still can accomplish this year. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, a quick word from our pals at PrizePicks. If my copy will load, we'll be able to talk a little bit about PrizePicks. If you're playing daily fantasy sports, often you have to go through these like draft processes, and you have to go into these massive player pools, and you're playing against these sharks, to be perfectly honest. When I was playing other daily fantasy games, I never believed I could win more than just my money back, because you're going up against these people who flood the entries with many different entries. They know what they're doing. It's built for you to lose. PrizePicks is different because it's daily fantasy. That's not built for you to lose. PrizePicks is built for you to win. Here's how the game works. You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they go on to score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. Think Franz Wagner is going to have more than 5 assists tonight. Think Franz Wagner is going to score more than 15 points, or Paolo Banchero is going to keep that streak going and score more than 20. You just pick that over the projection that PrizePicks has, or under the projection that PrizePicks has, and you have the chance to win some major money. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. So PrizePicks offers projections in any sport, and you can even mix and match them, whether it's NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, on and on and on and on. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's really that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals, and it's currently operational in more than 30 states, including Florida and Canada too. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100. We want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day, every day. For your second listen today, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. So the Orlando Magic are 0-5. One of 3 winless teams left in the NBA. Not a list you want to be on, but hey, we play the Sacramento Kings in a week. Next Saturday, someone's going to get a win that game, I assume. It's the Orlando Magic, the Sacramento Kings, and the Los Angeles Lakers, the only winless teams left in the NBA. We're a good bunch. We have fun. We're good times. Our vibes are probably better than the Lakers right now, which is always good. And that's all I'm going to talk about the Lakers today. But it's not going to be the last time I talk about LeBron, because I am here to tell you that all hope is not lost for the Orlando Magic. Just because the Magic are 0-5 does not mean the play-in dreams are done, does not mean the season is over. There's a long list, or at least a decent list, of even recent list of teams led by rookie players that started off slow and still made playoff pushes. And I think it's important to remember this, that this season is not about this season. This season is about developing and building for the future. It's one of the reasons why I think the Magic's rotation has been a little weird. I think Jamal Mosley is purposefully trying to keep lineups together that he wants together, especially playing Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero together. I think that is a priority for him and for this team, is to play those guys together as much as possible. And so that means they aren't staggering lineups. They aren't staggering Paolo and Franz to make sure that they have one of them on the floor at all times. They probably should be trying to do that because I think that would help this team win. But that's not what this season is about. This season is about the bigger picture beyond that. Having said that, then, the Magic aren't out of anything at all. The Magic aren't out of the play-in race. They aren't out of the playoff race. There's still lots of time. And really, as low as the Magic are right now, they want to be playing their best basketball later in the season, when they have more experience, when they're healthy. They want to see this team get progressively better. You want to call that a tank? They're tanking early, getting their tank work done early. Fine, say that. I don't think that's the case. I think that there are reasons for what the Magic are doing. I disagree with some of those reasons. I'll make that really, really clear here. But I think there is method to the madness, and I don't think it's necessarily nefarious at all. I think the Magic are trying to look at a bunch of different things, and you'd like to have done this in the preseason and not waste regular season games on it, but so be it. Here we are. Like I said, there is a solid list of teams and a solid list of players who started off slowly, or their team started off slowly and then made a playoff push later in the year. John Morant's Memphis Grizzlies started 1-5. The reason why I'm having this discussion, because I was having a discussion with someone on Twitter who was like, the Magic shouldn't be about this getting better thing. They should be about winning from the beginning. John Morant's Grizzlies were about winning from the beginning. They were the 8th seed in the 2020 playoffs, entering the bubble. They struggled in the bubble. They got to the play-in tournament, lost that to the Portland Trailblazers. They were playing meaningful games, and I agree completely with that. The best way for young teams to grow is to play meaningful games. To be playing I've told a million people this. If the Magic are tanking this season, that suggests there are bigger problems. That, yes, we need to question the coaching. Yes, we need to question a lot of the players that we're building around. I've also said Paolo Banchero alone is making this season a success. Finding out that Paolo Banchero is a player is really, really important. But I like to see him play meaningful games. I'm sure he'd like to be playing meaningful games. And so, yes, I do agree. I'd love to be the Memphis Grizzlies. I'd love to be that young Memphis team in 2020 that was playing meaningful games, that was in the playoff hunt, that was chasing a playoff spot and putting themselves in a position to play games that mattered. That is important, and the Magic should still be striving to get that. One might forget, though, that Grizzlies team started 2-7. They were 1-5 to start their season. They did not lose their first 5 games, but they were 1-5, and that included a 39-point loss to the Orlando Magic. Morant was good, not great. He had a 30-point game early on in his career, put double figures up in 7 of his first 8 games, or 6 of his first 7 games played, I believe, or 7 of his first 8, of his first games played. He was really good out of the gates, but the team struggled, and it took them a while to figure themselves out. It took them a while to get themselves going. So yes, you want to be competitive, but it's still early in the season. There's time to make up that ground. The Grizzlies went on some winning streaks later in the season. They've learned how to tread water. They learned how to find their spots to get good, and they caught lightning in a bottle. That's the plan that the Magic should want to have, that they should find their way, they should catch lightning in a bottle, and they should make their stand and advance quickly here through the season. They are not alone in that. Let's dive a little bit deeper into history. A guy that Paolo Banchero is getting compared to early, and some of the records that he's setting belong to one LeBron James. LeBron James was an instant success as a rookie. Not only the Rookie of the Year, but obviously the 25 points in his first game that Paolo Banchero, broke with 27. But he averaged 20 points per game, was everything that everyone imagined he could be right off the start. He had a really strong rookie season. His rookie year was actually the only year he missed the playoffs until the 2019 season with the Los Angeles Lakers. So, having said all that, the Cleveland Cavaliers that year finished one game out of the playoffs. They were They won like 34, 35 games. So a little bit of a weaker Eastern Conference than what we're dealing with now. I will grant you that. They finished one game out of the playoffs. How did they start the season? They were 0-5, just like this Orlando Magic team. This is all to say that, yes, rookie-led teams with rookies, teams with young players, are going to struggle. But the fact that the Magic are 0-5 today is not a reason to give up on the season. There is still work ahead. The Magic have to be better. They have to make threes. They have to defend better. They have to be more consistent and reliable offensively. They have to trust what they're doing. They have to stay with the game plan. But they do have players that can shape their team. Paolo Banchero is keeping this team in a lot of games. And it's not just him. Franz Wagner's doing some work too. Wendell Carter's done some good work. The Magic's defense has had some really good moments. Again, I think the Magic's offensive struggles are highlighting some of the defense's weaknesses. This defense isn't good enough to carry things by itself, but it is good enough to keep the team in games. And the Magic are finding those little pockets here and there. There is plenty to build on with this team. And like we've said, it's been a broken record. This team just has to pull everything together, and we will see. I am of the belief that this team gets one win, that pressure is going to be relieved a little bit. And the Magic are going to say, okay, this is our formula. This is our way to win. Let's just do that. Let's have faith in that. And I think the Magic will do better once they get that first win. Once they get that first win, I do think it's going to start building up pretty quickly because they haven't been that far off. Last year they maybe go 6 minutes where they were really bad. This year it's maybe 2 or 3. And those 2 or 3 minutes are enough for them to lose games, but not enough for them to get blown out. You can recover from 2 or 3 bad minutes. And that's where the Magic are sitting right now, where they're struggling to recover from those 2 to 3 bad minutes that a lot of other teams could probably recover from. You can't recover from 6 or 7 or 8 or 10, which was happening last year. The Magic are still in a good spot. The Magic are still capable of being better. And that's the point of looking back at this history, of noting that John Morant's Grizzlies started 2-7, that LeBron James's Cavs started 0-5. It's important to look back at that stuff to understand it's not over. There's still work to do, but it's not over. And there's still a lot of season left. We'll talk about the Orlando Magic's upcoming game against the Charlotte Hornets coming up here in just a moment. So the Orlando Magic battle the Charlotte Hornets tonight in their second home game of the season. As our friend Matt George, covering the Kings, noted, the Sacramento Kings are 0-4, or now 0-5, but have played a good chunk of their games at home. The Orlando Magic are 0-5, but have played 4 of their games on the road, and actually their best game of the season happened at home. I will say it here. I am expecting a win tonight. It's not because the Charlotte Hornets are not going to be a challenge. They are going to be a real challenge for this team. But because I think the Magic are, like most young teams, a lot more comfortable playing in the Amway Center. Their best preseason games came at the Amway Center. Their best regular season game has come at the Amway Center. And certainly their offense is significantly better at the Amway Center. I suspect that they will shoot better tonight. I suspect that will be the key to them winning this game. Because at the end of the day, the Magic just have to make shots. You go back and look at that Cleveland game. There was a solid stretch. The first quarter, Orlando was so determined to get in the paint. The first half, the Magic was so determined to get in the paint that it counteracted their bad shooting. But at the same time, Cleveland was, I think, +7 on three-pointers. Magic had 2 3-pointers in the first half. I think Cleveland had 9. Cleveland was +7 on three-pointers. That was the sole reason they were in the game. Cleveland did not shoot the ball as well in the second half. I think Orlando's defense really found itself in the second half. They did a good job keeping the game within distance, but the Magic just could not score. Cleveland did a great job shutting off the paint. Orlando was not able to kind of supplement that with some outside shooting to loosen things up. That's kind of how these games are going right now for the Orlando Magic. So I think if Orlando is able to hit some outside shots, that's going to change a lot of things for this team. Again, the game is simple sometimes. Just make some shots and things will be okay. I think that's also going to add to the confidence. As we saw against Boston last week, the more Orlando makes shots, the more confident their offense is, the more effective their offense is. It's really about confidence and trust and faith and belief right now. And when you're 0-5, it's very easy for that to slip away. So I think Orlando has to get off to a good start, as they have been. Their starting lineup's been doing very, very well. Their struggles have really come in the fourth quarter, and it's just, again, just frustration building and mounting. We talk about this. We've talked a lot about this Magic team not repeating mistakes. I wouldn't say they're repeating the same mistakes, but they're allowing frustration to lead to mistakes. And that's something this team has to learn how to handle as well, where, thing doesn't go right on one end of the floor on offense. You still got to get back and defend well. If the defense isn't working, you got to stick with it offensively. You can't give into frustration shots. You still got to trust passing. You still got to trust that you're going to find the open man. And that's something this team has really, really struggled with. Charlotte is playing really, really well. They won't have Terry Rozier. They won't have LaMelo Ball tonight when they come into the Amway Center. But Charlotte still has Gordon Hayward, who is still a very effective scorer, as Magic fans know. They're playing Kelly Oubre at the 2, and he has been very, very good to start the season. They are still a capable three-point shooting team. They can hit threes, and so the Magic's three-point defense is going to be an absolute key tonight. However, I still like Orlando's size in this one. I think Wendell Carter, Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner give them a really formidable front line that I don't know if Charlotte's going to be able to handle as effectively. Charlotte was able to kind of find their pockets to score against Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle. But the versatility that the Magic bring, I think, is going to give Charlotte some issues. They've given a lot of teams issues with that, to be perfectly honest. It's guard play that's been the struggle. And I think Charlotte's a team, and the reason why I'm a little more confident that the Magic can win this game is Charlotte's a team that, has Dennis Smith Jr. and Kelly Oubre playing at guard, so they're bigger on the guard front. But I think that Orlando can handle those guards. Those are not like great dribble penetrators. Those are not great organizers. Those are not guys that are necessarily going to put the pressure and the screws on the Magic's guards themselves. This is a team, in other words, I think Orlando can get away with not having a true point guard, that they could find ways around their own roster problems to beat. Like I said, being at home is the major factor for me here. I think that I think this will be the case throughout the year, Orlando is going to play significantly better at home than they do on the road. And so I think that the lifting of the home crowd, the comfort of being at home for a change, the desperation to win a game, I think those are going to mix in, and they're going to allow the Magic to get their first win this season. Again, it's not going to be easy. I'm not saying this is a slam dunk. Charlotte is a very capable team. They were down by 10 on the road. I think they're down 7 heading into the fourth quarter. They forced overtime against the Knicks. They had the lead late in that game, late in regulation of that game. They can score. They can put up some points too. Steve Clifford is very, very good at disciplining teams defensively. And while I don't think Charlotte is quite all the way there defensively yet, they are going to get there. No doubt about it, they're going to get there. So I would say just be on the lookout for this team. Be on the lookout for this Hornets team. This is a winnable game for Orlando. This is a game Orlando can get, but they got to do their work to get it, and they got to do the things they know they have to do to win. Tip-off is at the Amway Center at 7 o'clock. Maybe you're listening to this on your way to the Magic game. If so, have a good time. We'll have a complete recap of that game on a special Saturday episode of Locked On Magic coming up tomorrow. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun places on the podcast to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. Now that you're done listening to us, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. For Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Wright. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.